Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my motorcycle wiring video 101. So basically with this bike, the wiring harness was really cut into. It was a rat's nest. There was opens and shorts everywhere. So I'm just doing a whole new wiring harness on this bike. The way it's wired now, it's wired to run, as you saw from the break-in video. But next thing I want to do is wire in some lights. So I want my headlight and my tail light with the associated brake light switches as well wired in. So I do this in accordance with the original OEM's wiring diagram just to make sure it's good, but I sort of adapt that to my own type of wiring harness here. So basically what I did was I have a 3-position switch that I'm going to use to adjust the headlight. So one way, that'll engage the power right here to the output. Center is off, and then I have another direction this way here. This will do power to the output and then to the ground. So basically what I'm going to do, the original wiring diagram or the original bike had a little case with multiple wires running through it through fuses. Basically what I did, I had off Amazon, I got a terminal block, which you'll see coming up here. And so you basically hook up your battery and you hook up your ground to the bike frame. And then from that, you have 4 to 6 slots on either side where you can attach different circuits. And that's really preferable because you don't have to wire together a huge wiring harness, wires back, wires forward. If you want one circuit to be your ignition, you want another circuit to be your light, another circuit to be your signals, you want an accessory circuit for charging your phones, you can all do that easily through a little terminal block with individual fuses. So that's what I'm doing. So on one of the fuses here, I have a 10 amp slot that I'm going to use because that's what originally was for the lights on this bike. So I'm just going to go off that. So I have the correct gauge wire delivering power. And for right now, I'm going to do the headlight circuit. This is the brake light circuit back here. So basically I have one power wire going up, and it's going to go to the center of the switch right here. And that's going to be the main point of power. That's going to go to the output. So what did I write here? So this side, when it's like this, flip the switch that way, it sends power here. And that's going to go to my high beam circuit, which is going to engage both the high and low, just because it's an LED light. And then conversely for the low beam as well. So to save wiring, so vehicles, cars, motorcycles, airplanes, they have what's called a single wire system. So it's unlike your house where you have your positive, negative, and ground. It's a whole bunch of wiring. It's done for safety, obviously, but vehicles, to reduce the amount of wiring, reduce weight, reduce cost, they have a single wire. That's why here you see one single wire going up, and then you have what's called the chassis ground. So your battery, if you go out to your motorcycle right now and look at the battery, you'll see a positive, which is usually red, and then you'll see the negative, which is usually black. If you follow that negative down, it's going to attach somewhere on the frame. That's called chassis ground. So then I can just run a power wire out to wherever I want, and as long as I have the black or ground or neutral wire, whatever you want to call it, as long as you have that ground wire attached to the frame, it will complete the circuit because it'll be going through the steel frame and connecting that way. So we have our single wire system up here. So I had this set up on my workbench, and once I get some parts in, I will demonstrate it for you. So one issue that came up, and I sort of foresaw this when I was drawing this wiring diagram. So to avoid multiple wires on different circuits, I wanted as little wiring as possible. That's why I just explained the single wire principle there. So I want this switch and this one wire to both power the headlight and the tail light at the same time. So what I did was I brought both of them here. So you have this blue wire and this yellow wire. So this is for your high beam, this is for your low beam. Basically, I brought them back. Just ignore those two little things right now. And I joined them right here, and I brought them all the way back. So right here you have your, sorry, not focusing, but you have your brake light, your stop light. So the brake light is more of your running light. that turns on at nighttime when you have your headlights on. So that's what I want the headlight switch to control. So whether I'm on the high beam or low beam, that power is going to come here and power my running light, brake light, and then of course the chassis ground. So I sort of foresaw this was going to happen, but I put it together on my workbench, and this is exactly what happened. So if you see here, say I put the switch to my high beam, like that. Okay, so my power is going to come up here. It's going to connect to my high beam circuit. It's going to go into the LED light, work its magic, and then come through to the chassis ground. Completed circuit. Beautiful. It's working. As well, if you see here, which will be on this little lug, with the lug I have another wire coming out here that's ganged together, or spliced rather, with the low beam circuit to power your running light, whether you're on high beam or low beam. So if you look at this, and wiring is just this simple. You just follow it like a roadmap. So I'm coming from here. So as I just went over, my high beam circuit's going. Cool. But when that switch goes there, it's not the electrons are going to follow the path of least resistance. So they're going to be like, oh, we'll go this way too. Oh, and it stops. It goes down this way, but it's also going to go up this way here. It's not going to go there, but it's going to follow this. So there you go. It's going to complete the low beam circuit as well. And that's going to happen whether I'm high beam. If I switch to low beam, it'll do the same thing. So I have my power coming in. It's going to come over here, power my low beam circuit. But that power is also going to come down here to this splice and come back up here and engage the high beam circuit. So that was the main issue I encountered when I was going back and forth on the switch. The light intensity was remaining the same. So how do we solve this? Well, you get what he calls a diode, and that's what I drew in here. And that you'll see that on wiring diagrams. And basically, that allows the electrons to flow one direction, but then stops them from going the other. For example, we'll put our switch here on low beam. Okay, it's on low beam. We have our power coming in. Going to power the low beam circuit. Great. But also, it's going to want to go this way to power our running light. Great, that's what we want. But what we don't want is it to come up here, and power the high beam circuit, as we just explained. So the diode, like this, will come through, power your running light, and it'll come here. But when you have it positioned correctly, so the line is facing the way you don't want it to go, it's going to stop the electrons right there and won't let them pass. So it's kind of like a one-way flow. And conversely too, when I have it switched to high beam, not that it matters because high beam engages both the low and high beam circuits in the LED bulb there, but regardless, I don't want flow going both directions. I just want it to go one way. So back to the low beam section. The way I am, when I was trained to remember the positioning of this, remember the fat end wants to eat. The fat end wants the electron, so it goes through like that. The line is like a stop line. Can't go past. So when you're installing these things, just keep that in mind. Or if you're reading a wiring diagram, you're like, okay, I want my electrons to go this way, but not that way. That's what that means. So I have a couple diodes waiting for them in the mail right now. Once they come in, I'll put my my little bench testing example here, and we'll see if this works. Oh my word, what is happening here on the workbench? What's this? Rat's nest of wires everywhere. Well, I'll show you, and I'll show you how it's applicable to this wiring diagram we came up with. So first off, we need our power in. We're accomplishing that through this 12 volts power supply. I don't know where you can get these things. You probably get it at like AutoZone or something. I got this at a garage sale. So it'll give us our 12 volt power supply, which will simulate the electrical system of the motorcycle. So next, I promised you all some diodes. So this came in the mail yesterday. Got it off Amazon. I can't remember the exact specs on it, but I believe it was 45 volts and 1,000 amps. It can't be that much. Anyway, I'll leave a link in the description, an affiliate link there if you all want to go there and get them, if you have a need for them as well. Anyway, I'll show you how this all operates and how this is applicable to this power distribution chart we came up with yesterday. So here we go, we have our switch. We'll do it all in reference to the switch here. So basically on the main here, we have our power. So red is power, and it's going on the power tab. So then we have a blue wire that's going up here, and I marked it poorly. So we have our blue wire going to our low beam. We have our brown wire going to our high beam, and then we have our white going to our ground. And they're all sort of just temp installed in there right now. So again, here we have our low and our high. Then we also have our common ground as well. And there we have our ground connected to both the tail light as well as the ground for the headlight. Right there, like that. Excellent. All right. So the real interesting part here is these two diodes. So as we discussed before, we want, when we have one selection made, we want it to, the signal to go to the headlight and down, but not back to the other circuit. So if you look here, I sort of simulated that directly on the switch. So they have the two diodes. If any of you are electrical engineers or technicians of some sort, remind me of what side's the anode and the cathode. I can't remember for the life of me when I went through school. It was a long time ago. All I know is you want the bottom part where the line is facing the direction where you want the signal or the electrons to be blocked. That's the way I remember it. Technical information, kind of dumped it. So what do you say? Let's get started here. So I'm going to turn power on. Power's on. Nothing is smoking yet. Excellent. Let's put one side on. Look at that. The ground isn't 100%, that's why it's flickering. All right. I want to point this at us. I just want to put it in a direction so I can tell if the low beam or the high beam's on. So that's that way. It's flickering because of the background again. Off, other way. Can't really tell. Oh, that's really bright. That's the low beam. So it's working now. Excellent. So we'll turn the power supply off. All right, so now we know this basic circuit will work when it's put on the bike. So let's go out there and start wiring it. Good day everyone, thanks for coming back to the video here. So I have an updated wiring diagram. I also have the headlight bucket set up as well with the main master switch there. I have all the supplies we require. I have our LED indicator lights, I have our plugs, our solder sleeves, as well as our lugs and connectors are going to heat shrink on. So stay tuned. I'll show you all how to go through and do some wiring. I'll also put some links in the description, affiliate links for any of this equipment. If this is our consumables, if this is the kind of stuff you guys want to use, feel free to hit the link there and order it. It helps support the channel, bring me helps me create more content for you all. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and stay tuned. Wiring up this headlamp. This is we're gonna all the light. So I'm gonna start with the diode. So let's get started.
Thoughts are, as the Holy Father's right, fall off one or the other side of the road. He's learning about our thoughts. We don't pay attention to them. We often lie with people who don't exist for all intents and purposes. Or we begin to think about how we can make that thought happen. Energy. Demonic energy, the bitterness, the resentment, way of thinking, because we don't know what God's secret will is over the years. One last one that is often is that we begin to drift into self-reliance, living by faith. Living by faith is saying, I am going to kind of putting everything on God, or a feeling. This few, this is not everyone to do. Say Nicodemus or a blackout, sober, where I would kind of come to why they're doing things, or even remembering mindset becomes warped. If they come old demons that are plaguing their soul, but then it's very rare that it happens. Most people in the Gospels, where Christ says to give their pronouns, and in that article, Gospels, or was quoting the Gospels, but was actually within the church, I have seen that there is the power to combat things that are bringing demonic energy into our life. These later categories, we need to find an orthodox. But we have to understand our enemy, the devil, and fallen angel Lucifer, who revolves around egotism and pride and love. And then we have the devil, egotism and pride and vainglory in our ear. And when we say the devil, we really mean just the demon, eat, greed, and is able to whisper our mind and begins to whisper to us. This is not to turn them over in our mind. We begin to look at and they begin to spin and put you in college.
High beams will be our low
I'm going
beam.
to go apply for college, and devil's like, you're an imagination man. The boss is a conversation that they're having with somebody that they're agitated with. So they're like, whoa, that guy's crazy. They drive, she will never play itself out the way that you think it could. So what you don't realize is the cookie is made by the devil. No one will ever be faithful to it. That's the law. Never mind. It's like a bad line of code, right? But they're going to take advantage of you, or they'll abandon you. Lastly, they'll your life. So, what a whispering in our ears starts happening in the wheels, and that's why St. Solomon also said, if a thought causes us, our shaping our emotional being, and our Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, Lord Jesus Christ, what else? If my mind feels tired. And last but not least, sin.
I beg your pardon? The basement. I'll be up in a minute. Do it in the machine.
From behind the upstairs bathroom?
Where you can connect Presbyterian minister, but our family life really felt like life or death. It felt like you could die out there. I remember I was just praying all night long, because I had this kind of instinctual sense in the foxhole that I wouldn't make it through without not a peaceful environment. This is not a normal. I just said, okay, I've got this on my own. And I went right watched, I watched friends who died, and I had kind of an extreme phobia. I wasn't really growing closer to Christ. It was better. I got married. I was able to do things. It was like tremendous anxiety. I had very intimacy with God. It seemed to be, and what I saw at the time when I would try to share this, and I had been around psychology since my youth, any real healing in psychology. So I thought, this is so strange. We reject Catholics, and then, the craziest thing happened. I took
To the neutral light.